Hello. Have you been fighting the weight of anxiety and panic disorder and depression, and it has just left you in a place of misery? I have too. I was there once also. Today, I'm going to talk with you about how I've overcome those battles and where I'm at on my wellness journey. Stay tuned. Hello, all of you wonderful people. Thank you for coming back and joining me on my channel today. My name is Cheryl Lynn, and I am on a journey to wellness, and I am in a clinical trial through the Cleveland Clinic Institute of Bariatrics. With that, they've given me the medication Zepbound in an effort to test its effects on weight loss compared to weight loss surgery. So with that, I figured today I would unpack how I even ended up in this situation to begin with, where I once was, where it all started, and how I'm overcoming it and where I'm at today. So thank you for joining me. If you're a fellow anxious person, welcome. The struggle is very real, and I didn't realize how bad anxiety truly was until I was a person that was diagnosed with it. So I'm going to take you back a little bit from where this all began. Years ago, when I was much younger, I ended up in a very, very traumatic, abusive relationship. I also had childhood trauma that I had dealt with, which oftentimes is what leads to people getting in bad relationships. Not always, obviously, but it can have a part in that. But I was in this marriage for 13 very long years, and it was very, very difficult. I won't go into all the details of the finites of it, but it was traumatic, and it was something I never, ever thought I would get out of. The things I endured, I wouldn't wish on most people. So after 13 years of dealing with this severe trauma almost daily, I was finally set free from this relationship and I was able to pursue life. And I was so excited. It was a breath of fresh air, and I was ready to hit the ground running and seek all the things in life I had never gotten with schooling and working and my health. And for the first time, I could really focus on me. And during that journey, I was on a health journey as well. I had gained weight because I was depressed through the abuse and all of those types of things. So I had gained weight and I was on this health journey and I was doing amazing. In fact, during the traumatic experience of that relationship, I got to my highest recorded weight of 265 pounds, which is higher than I was when I started this journey. I was able to get down to my lowest recorded weight in adulthood, which was 187 pounds. So that's my first goal to beat, 187 pounds. And I'll show you pictures here. And you can see the difference that there was from then. But during my health journey, one day I was exercising. I was at the YMCA and it's on the lower floor. And while exercising, I had my treadmill on an incline and I was going at a pretty good pace, had some good music. I was really in my rhythm. And out of nowhere, I felt what felt like an explosion in my chest. And I just started shaking really bad. Of course, instantly I thought my blood sugar was low. So I went and got Gatorade water. I had to go up the stairs and my legs felt like jello the whole way up the stairs. I didn't think I was going to make it. Went out to the car, drank some Gatorade, sat there for a few, felt much better after a little while. It took some time, but that was really scary. I didn't realize that would be the start of what would trigger what was known as panic attacks. So then I continued my journey, hiking, getting more miles in, making sure I'm exercising. I was feeling really good. I was really excited about where my life was and where I was going. I had great ambitions. And then one day, I ended up in the ER. And I had a few glasses of wine the night before. I ended up in the ER because I woke up that morning and I was very dehydrated, apparently. But I had what they told me was just a hangover. My heart was just racing. I felt like I was dying. So they gave me IV fluids and they sent me on my way. And I thought, okay, I feel a little better, but not quite. I must also add that I have a cardiac condition called SVT. For those of you that don't know, it's supraventricular tachycardia, and it is scary when that comes on. but I hadn't had very many episodes, and I only experienced it mostly during pregnancy, which my doctors related to a hormonal imbalance. So then I was at work one day, and I'm a nurse. I've said that in my previous video. So for those of you that don't know, I am a nurse, and I was at work and I was doing my med pass, and a resident of mine needed insulin. And I drew up the insulin, and out of nowhere, I had this fear that somehow I got insulin on me, and my heart just started pounding. I again thought my blood sugar was low and ran, got me juice, all of these things, went home, and it was like every day after that, I couldn't stop. And I couldn't get it out of my head that my blood sugar wasn't low. It's so bizarre. If you've ever experienced a hypoglycemic event, you can know, or you would know, if you've experienced that and anxiety, that they are very similar. And it is hard to decipher which it is. You get the sweaty palms, you get lightheaded, your heart starts racing, you get very dizzy. Yeah, so it's very, very similar. So I was insistent that I had low blood sugar. So here I started just consuming large amounts of carbs every time I would feel this. Soon panic disorder took over my life. I was up all hours of the night, heart racing, running down to the refrigerator, drinking juice and milk, and trying to just shove stuff in my mouth all day, every day. It completely took over to the point where I couldn't even hardly work. I was afraid to leave the house. I couldn't go in the store. I couldn't walk down long hallways. I was getting every test known to man because I was sure that what was wrong with me was not panic attacks or anxiety, because I didn't believe that those things were like this. You know, when you see anxiety on people, or people talk about being anxious or having panic attacks, it didn't appear as though how I felt. So I was certain there was something more clinically wrong with me. And we did all the tests and looked into everything, and it all came back that it was indeed anxiety and panic disorder. And I didn't know how I was going to deal with this in life. And so this started in 2017 was when that started. And it's taken since 2017 to 2025 to truly get a grasp on my anxiety and panic attacks. And even still, sometimes my mind plays tricks on me, and I worry that my blood sugar is low or I have a panic attack. So I really, really, really take to heart that we all don't know what other people's journeys are, or what they've been through, or why they struggle with their weight. And I will never, ever, ever criticize somebody because they are overweight. Mine came out of nowhere, and very quickly the weight started piling on, as all hours of the day and night I was eating and drinking, certain that my blood sugar was low. I would test my blood sugar. That's a good idea, right? I would test it and it would be normal, but I'd think in my head, the machine has to be wrong because there's no other reason why I feel this way. And this went on for years and years and years. And I grew to hate myself, and I was embarrassed of myself. And I didn't want to go in public anyway, but it even more so because I was gaining more weight. And I didn't understand why I had finally broken free from the horrific life I was in to something that I felt safe in. And now I'm dealing with this every single day, all day and all night. It was terrifying. But slowly the weight started to creep on. Not slowly, actually kind of quickly. And then I continuously battled. Okay, now I need to lose the weight. Now I got to figure out how to diet. And every time I would try, I would fail. And every time I would try to get back on, I'd find myself in that repetitive, vicious cycle of thinking I needed to eat, thinking I needed to drink juice or ginger ale or something to get the blood sugar back up. And I was fixated on this. And I could not lose the weight. Every time I would try, I would fail. And people didn't understand it. They would say, just go exercise, just go low carb, just do these things. And I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And so when I started my Zep-bound journey, I had come a long way with counseling, with mental health, with exposure therapy, where I learned to put myself in situations and remind myself that I am okay. And it takes a lot of time. Like, you would think that one time you realize you're okay, you're okay. It's not like that. Sometimes it's hundreds of times of being in a situation where you can finally say, I've survived. I'm okay. And in the end, it almost comes down to being like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I'll pass out or I'll die or what? I have no control over this anymore. You have to release that control because what it is we're trying to maintain that control. So finally, after years of fighting and battling anxiety and depression because of the anxiety and panic attacks, I was finally in a place where I said, enough is enough. I'm going to fight back. And I never took medications. Part of anxiety led me to believe that I would have an allergic reaction, that I would not be okay, that something would happen to me. And so I never took medications. Half the time I wouldn't even take vitamins. If I did, I'd take a half a vitamin or something. I was always afraid of something happening. And it started that last summer, I ended up getting an emergency appendectomy. I had appendicitis and had to have my appendix removed. And in that moment, I had all sorts of medications running through my IV and contrast that I had to take and things that I was so scared of I had to get put under the knife for surgery. And I woke up and I thought, what in the world? Wow. And it really opened my eyes that I will never know and I will always fail if I don't try. And so I tried to lose weight after that. I was not successful. I did a little bit, and then the weight came back on. Holidays came around in January this year. I decided I'm going all in. I'm done allowing anxiety and panic disorder to rule my life. And so I applied for bariatric surgery. I had thought at that point, if I had an appendectomy, I can get the gastric sleeve. And that's when they chose me for Zepbound. And I'm not sure where I'd be without Zepbound. I don't know what I would do without Zepbound at this point. I have lost almost 40 pounds now, and I'll do an update video on that. But I've lost almost 40 pounds because of Zepbound, because of allowing myself the opportunity to fight against anxiety and panic and all that it has done to me. Since starting Zepbound, they say the food noise, it takes away the food noise, but also the mental disorder, I guess you'd call it, of myself, kind of like OCD, that repetitive thinking of I have to eat, I have to drink sugar, my blood sugar's low, because I forget about it completely. And it has helped me so much. Do I still think about my blood sugar being low and get anxious sometimes? I sure do, because this is probably a battle I will fight for the rest of my life, and I'm willing to accept that. I've learned that if I haven't stopped, it hasn't stopped over 7 years, it's probably something I'll have to fight for the rest of my life. But some of the things I'm learning is that low iron can contribute to anxiousness and how you're feeling. And I've been making sure I take my iron every day. And not being hydrated can also contribute to that. Not getting your rest can contribute to that. I've really formulated a good, healthy, protein-rich diet that has zero caffeine in it to help me through this as well. So it's a combination of things. But since taking Zepbound, it has kind of freed my mind a little bit in the way that I can allow myself to eat right and lose the weight that I have been trying to lose for a long time. So if you are anxious or you have panic disorder and you're struggling, I am here to tell you, don't lose hope. Don't give up. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there is relief, and there is a way to get through it and past it. And if your anxiety and panic disorders have led to you being overweight, I am so sorry that you've experienced that, because it is a horrible thing to endure. And there are ways around it. And I encourage you to talk to your provider, talk to a clinical counselor, get yourself in the mind frame that you need to be to start your wellness journey. And every single time you fail, don't give up. Get back up and try again. I failed hundreds and hundreds of times over 7 years trying to get back on track before I finally found a plan that worked for me. Talk to your providers, talk to your counselors, get a good group around you that will support you and lift you up. Get people who you can call on in your times of need to help push you through. I have a few in my right and left hand corners. Let me tell you that I don't know where I'd be today without them. But because of them, they have pushed me and encouraged me on this journey, and I'm where I'm at today. So I'll close with that. But I thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, concerns, comments on anything I put out there, please feel free to drop it in the comments below. If you're dealing with anxiety and you have any questions about things I did or how I got through it, I'm here to support you. Drop those in the comments below. I'd love to help you along on your journey. Don't forget to subscribe and like my channel. I'm really trying to put this content out there to be a light and a hope for someone out there that may need it. That's the whole goal behind this. I just want to share my journey with others to help lift them up and give them hope as well. So thanks again for coming around, and I'll see you on the next one.